Hello my dearest friends, welcome back to my channel Diana and the Book Hunt, and welcome to my very first collaboration video that I'm posting here on my channel. And thank you so much to Becky from Beccie for organizing this collab video with some other amazing booktubers that I'm going to mention in a moment, so you can visit their channels once you've watched my video as well. Now Beccie invited us all to post on the same day a recommendation video with one trope that is a favorite trope of mine as well. It's the slow burn romance trope, where I'm going to recommend to you a couple of my favorite books that feature this trope. And the wonderful thing about collaboration videos is that if this trope appeals to you, you can definitely go ahead and check out all the other booktubers videos once you've checked out mine, so that you can make as big a list as you can with amazing recommendations for slow burn romances. So I'm going to mention who is participating in the collaboration video, and I'm going to link their channels down below in the description box. We've got Bex from Bex Reads, we've got Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff, we've got Christie from Christie Reads a Lot, and Baron from the Book Baron. All those wonderful ladies are going to post videos today that will show you recommendations for slow burn romances. So whenever you've checked mine, you can see which ones you've read and which ones you haven't. You can add them to your TBR and then move along and watch all of the other videos so that you can expand your list as much as you can. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the list of the wonderful books that I've chosen with the slow burn romance trope. The first book I'm going to mention is a recent release and also a recent read of mine. It's This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. And honestly, you won't go wrong with any Kennedy Ryan book because she typically does slow burn very well. I think it's because she's focusing her plot on the development and growth of her characters and not only on the romance. So when the romance occurs, it's really an organic kind of development that blooms through communication and through just wonderful self-discovery and self-reflection as well. And this is definitely the case within this story. We've got our heroine Soledad, who has been married for many years. She has 3 wonderful children, but unfortunately she finds out that her husband has kind of had a secret life, and because of developments that involve him and some actions that he has had in his career, she is now going to get a divorce. She has always been a stay-at-home mom, so she really needs to discover a new kind of life for herself. She needs to support her daughters. She needs to find a way to really live outside of a marriage. So essentially this is how the story starts, with her trying to discover how she's going to continue living a completely different life from what she was used to before. And in the meantime, she meets a man. His name is Judah, and he's actually involved in whatever happened with her husband. So this is kind of an off-limits romance as well. And Judah and Soledad, already from the start when they met up, they did feel a connection together, but at the same time, because both of them are in very specific places in their life, they definitely know that they cannot get together right away. So there is definitely that kind of angsty, slow burn kind of feel to this story, and they definitely don't get together until later on in the story. So this is definitely a slow burn that is worth it, and if you haven't picked it up yet, you definitely need to add it to your TBR. So jumping from one type of genre to another, we're going on to a romantasy read. It's The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. It's a romantasy that focuses on a human heroine and a vampire. They're both participating in this competition that will get them to a very coveted prize. So they're actually competitors, but they do decide that they're going to work together to kind of get as far as they can within the game. And there's definitely a lot of banter, there's definitely a lot of development within the first book, and their actual romance doesn't start until almost the end of this book and then continues on in the second book. So this is definitely considered a slow burn romance. I really enjoyed this story. It had so many amazing elements to it, not only the slow burn aspect to it, but really also kind of the action-packed, adventure-packed kind of tempo to it. Also, the fact that we have a badass heroine within this book. I really like those kinds of heroines within a romantasy. There's just so much goodness to this duology. I definitely would recommend it if you enjoy the romantasy kind of vibes that are going on at this time. This one is definitely one of the good ones. Moving on to a completely different kind of book. I really tried to select very many different kinds of books for this video so that you can have your pick and see which one you're in the mood for. The one that I'm going to mention right now is Role Playing by Kathy Yardley. This is actually a romance between two characters who are in their late 40s to 50s, and that's why it's a bit of a different kind of a romance with a different pace and a different kind of mindset to a different kind of communication, if you will. And I really enjoyed that about this romance. We've got two characters who are definitely both recluses. They're both gamers, and that's the wonderful thing about this story, that they actually meet each other when they're doing this online game. So firstly, they meet online, but then something happens to the hero and the heroine jumps to his rescue essentially, and that's where they have their actual meet cute. And it's such a wonderful story. It has so much to give because it's definitely a situation where they meet online, they have conversations together, they hit it off, and they become friends online. And then they take their friendship offline as well. So it's definitely a relationship that builds on a friendship first and then moves on to lovers territory. So it's definitely a slow burn. I immensely enjoyed this one, and I hope you will too if you haven't picked it up yet. Next up, we've got a male-male romance. It's Tal Bowers, The Rest of the Story. This one is just a wholesome, slow burn romance between two hockey players. It has so much to give, so much emotional connection, so much good communication, and so many just wonderful gestures from one character to the other. We've got an age gap relationship between one of the heroes who moves from this very popular hockey team to this no-name hockey team, and he kind of essentially is like the hero to the team because he comes in and he gets everyone out of this very bad situation. And he has a romance with one of the younger players on the team, so the age gap is there for sure. And the two of them have to work together because one of the heroes is the captain and then the second hero is the co-captain, so they have forced proximity a lot. They have a lot of conversations, a lot of like little moments where they can connect, and it's just such a wonderful, emotional, and just wholesome kind of story. And I hope that as many people as you can think of can pick this book up because it just definitely deserves to be read over and over by as many people as possible. Next up is another new release. It's Only and Forever by Chloe Lees. This is actually the 7th book within the Bergman Brothers series. It can be read as a standalone, so if you haven't read all of the Bergman Brothers books, it can definitely be read as a standalone or out of order as well, because each of the siblings has their own love story. Now, this book focuses on our most romantic character out of the Bergman Brothers siblings. It's Viggo's story. He has always been considered the romantic because in the other books, you definitely see him quoting romance books, reading romance books the whole time, and trying to really do these interventions for all of his siblings whenever they're having love trouble. So he's the one who is bringing them together and kind of giving ideas on what to do to win over their respective partners. But he's always been the one who really hasn't had a relationship, like a serious relationship. So we were all curious to see who he's going to end up with. And he ends up with a college classmate of his. He always had a thing for her already when they were in college, but they didn't really have a relationship together. He was kind of pining for her. And then fast forward a couple of years later, their kind of paths align again. The two of them strike this arrangement where they're going to become roommates, and she's going to help him opening up a bookshop while he's going to help her with her career. She's a writer and she's kind of in a rut, so he's trying to help her out to release her new novel. So this is a wonderful read with a lot of forced proximity, a lot of pining from the hero. There is some pining from the heroine as well, even though she hides it very well. And there is this angsty tension where you know that they're going to get together, but we're just abiding the time to see when that's going to happen. And that's a wonderful kind of slow burn. There isn't a lot of drama to it, but the conflicts that are used within the book are very relatable because we get a very good glimpse into the backstory of both of the characters, and I really appreciated that. This is really a wonderful rounding off to the Bergman Brothers world. So I typically would actually recommend all of the books if you haven't read them yet, but this one may actually be my favorite out of the 7. And now I'm going to talk about a book that I've talked about many times before, but I've mentioned it every single time that I mentioned this book, that I'm never going to stop recommending it because it's just such a wonderful read, and it can be featured in so many recommendation videos because it just has a lot to offer. The book is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This wonderful book here has the most wonderful kind of relationship between two characters. We've got our heroine Bree, who she works in this hospital, and she really wants to get this promotion at this hospital at the ER, but then she gets some competition from a newly arrived doctor. His name is Jacob, and the two of them actually get off on the wrong foot because of something that Jacob does. And because he really feels very guilty about what he did, he writes her an apology letter. And from this apology letter, they start this epistolary kind of an exchange, and they have this wonderful connection together. They firstly become friends, then their relationship kind of transitions into a fake dating arrangement, and then a lot of other things happen as well. So there is definitely this very beautiful build up to their relationship, and you definitely root for them to get together, but at the same time you also want to kind of delay it happening so that you can explore how they grow to be in love. It's just such a wonderful kind of read, and I just recommend it every single time that I can because I want everyone to read it. Honestly, it's one of my all-time favorite reads, and I just read Just for the Summer actually by this author as well, and that one is wonderful as well. This one just hits in all the right places, and I definitely want everyone to pick it up. Now, we can't do a slow burn recommendation video without mentioning a Mariana Zapata book because Mariana Zapata is the queen of slow burn romances, and the one that I've chosen for this collaboration video is All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This book features our heroine who she has had a tough kind of backstory. She had a wonderful relationship with her mother. Her mother back in the day was a hiker, and she went missing while being on a hike. It's been a difficult thing for the heroine to accept that she really didn't get any closure with her mother. So what she does is she goes back to the small town where her mother went missing, and she decides that she just wants to do a couple of hikes to try to get this closure that she has always been missing. And what she does is she goes to the small town and she rents this studio apartment like above this garage, and it turns out that she rents it from a guy who doesn't know that his apartment was listed to be rented because it was his young son who listed it without his knowledge. And this is where we get a romance between the dad, who is a bit older, and the heroine. We've got a grumpy sunshine dynamic within this book. We've got a single dad, and we've got a bit of a reluctant heroine because she definitely has a lot of baggage to work through. But this is just such a wonderful small town, very atmospheric kind of read, and the slow burn is slow burning within this one. So if you really like the ultra slow burns, honestly, you can't go wrong with any Mariana Zapata book, but this is one of her best ones. These were all the books that I wanted to feature on my slow burn recommendations video that is in collaboration with the wonderful booktubers Beccie from Bex Reads, Maggie from Maggie's Books and Stuff, Christie from Christie Reads a Lot, and Baron from the Book Baron. Please go ahead and check out their recommendation videos as well. And again, thank you so much, Beccie, for inviting me to join in on this collab. I hope that we get to collaborate with each other on another one soon. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care.